we got more of the same from the Furious Five, more of that positive, uplifting music. And again, this music was connecting with people, and people just continued to gravitate towards it. And in the midst of all of this, Grandmaster Flash was helping to push that original archetype of the DJ, that hip hop was built on, out into the mainstream. And Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five just continued to grow in popularity, putting out this upbeat, positive music. Again, no complex lyrics, but consistently positive, consistently uplifting. And then all of a sudden, they dropped the song, The Message, putting a magnifying glass on the aspects of society that nobody wanted to talk about, and essentially bringing this conversation to a broader audience, to the masses. And it wasn't like this was the first time this had been done, but it was just nothing like this, that it literally felt like you were there seeing all of this happen while listening to this music. And then they dropped the music video and literally took you there, showing you exactly what was going on and exactly what people were doing within these communities in vivid detail. And they weren't promoting the circumstances that they were in. They were saying, hey, this is the situation, and we need to find a way to change it. We need to find a way to rise out of this. And this ended up being their biggest hit. This thing sold over 100,000 copies in just 1 month. And this song proved to be so pivotal that they actually ended up adding it to the U.S. Library of Congress. And after The Message, Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five continued to put out more of these socially conscious records. All these different records opening up people's minds to, the things that were going on in the world and in the community that wasn't getting a lot of attention, and encouraging people to rise out of these situations and become better versions of themselves. Right behind this, they released the song White Lines, which was a song speaking out against the use of cocaine, which at the time, cocaine was just completely destroying a lot of different communities. And this song, speaking out against it, ended up being their second biggest hit. And eventually they even dropped The Message Part 2, which went even deeper than the original song. I mean, these guys were talking about divide and conquer tactics used by the government. They were talking about GMOs and chemicals in the food and making references to the pharmaceutical companies. And they're talking about all this over this booming, fast-paced rhythm, something you could dance to. And as you're dancing, you're also being educated. You're also being enlightened. And as this is going on, hip hop is still growing. And you got the rapper Curtis Blow that comes up, and Curtis Blow actually becomes the very first rapper that is ever signed to a major label when he signs to Mercury Records. And Curtis Blow continued that trend of releasing that uplifting, positive music while also mixing in those social messages. And he ended up dropping 6 albums. And out of those 6 albums, not even one explicit lyric throughout his entire rap career. One of the most successful rappers of this era. The very first rapper to sell out stadiums. And all of this success is coming through this positive music. And more rappers would continue to come up. And eventually we would get Run DMC. And you could tell that the idea of what hip hop really was, music to keep you consciously aware while also making you dance, was beginning to fully flesh itself out. Because the very first song that Run DMC releases is called Black History, an almost 15-minute song where Run DMC breaks down all this unknown, untold Black history. And Black History gained a lot of buzz, but it wasn't a large scale release, but it was a hit. And it started to gain Run DMC a lot of buzz and a lot of popularity. And after they garnered that buzz, Run DMC proceeded to pretty much completely change the hip hop landscape. You still had those clear, concise, albeit simplistic, positive lyrics that hip hop was built on, along with those deeper social messages. But the way that Run DMC was delivering these messages and presenting this music was something that just had never been done before. They were rapping with just a little bit of a rougher, harder tone, and they were rapping over heavy guitar riffs. Again, something that had just never been done before this. Again, the overall music was the same, uplifting, positive, informative, but it was just a completely different delivery, completely innovative. And every single song that Run DMC released became a hit. And they ended up being the very first hip hop artists to get their music played on MTV, which, MTV had been on TV for over 3 years. And in those 3 years, absolutely no hip hop. And Run DMC, with this energetic, positive music, was the first hip hop group to transcend that and to basically take hip hop to the next level of mainstream and open up the door for all these other hip hop artists to start to get showcased on this large scale. And again, Run DMC is sticking to that original foundation of hip hop, the DJ, the MC, and that uplifting music. And by their third album, they basically come full circle from where they started and dropped the song Proud to Be Black. And after they dropped this song, their third album ended up being their highest selling album. And it started to expose a lot about hip hop, because on this same album, we got the song My Adidas, which at the time, Run DMC and Adidas were like completely synonymous. You couldn't even think about Run DMC without also thinking about Adidas. It was something that they were always known for. And when they released My Adidas, the sales for Adidas shoes went through the roof. I mean, it's no exaggeration to say that nearly everybody was buying Adidas and wearing Adidas after Run DMC started wearing them. And especially after this song came out. And the influence that Run DMC was having actually got to be so large that the brand Adidas ended up signing them to a $1.6 million endorsement deal. And it was right here in this moment that the power of this music, the power of hip hop to heavily influence the minds of the masses became undeniable. And it was around this time that hip hop culture began to fully establish itself. Breakdancing becomes mainstream with the Mighty Zulu Kings, the Rocksteady Crew, the Dynamic Rockers, and all these other breakdancers making it into the mainstream. And we now have these four main elements of hip hop culture established. These four things that make hip hop what it is: the DJ, the MC, graffiti art, and breakdancing. You combine these four elements and we have the hip hop culture. And you've got all these other hip hop artists that are coming up and also becoming mainstream. Dougie Fresh, Houdini, Heavy D and the Boys, DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, Rob Bass and DJ Easy Rock, Young MC, Kid and Play, Salt and Pepper, the Fat Boys, too many to name. At this point, hip hop music is just completely taking over. And all of these hip hop artists are continuing on and preserving the original essence of what hip hop had always been. That fun, positive, uplifting music designed to make you dance, while also throwing in those social messages and delivering it through this clean style, no explicit lyrics. And the lyricism in the music is starting to evolve. We're starting to get more complex lyrics that are being delivered in these unique ways, to where you have to really pay attention to what's being said and decipher it as you listen. All this unique wordplay that is stimulating the mind of the listener. And we're getting people like EPMD, Eric B. and Rakim, Big Daddy Kane, MC Light, LL Cool J, Chubb Rock, Kool Moe Dee, that are coming with these complex lyrical styles and this highly advanced wordplay that is forcing you to think and decipher as you listen to their music, which is encouraging this high amount of stimulation of your mind as you listen. And with these particular artists, the social commentary is really starting to pick up. They still have those songs that are designed just for you to dance to, but now they're starting to get really specific with the messages and making it very clear who they are specifically speaking to, and that they're trying to use these messages in these songs, encouraging people to wake up and gain knowledge of who they are, and pumping in all these words of empowerment that are specifically directed towards Black people. And now that hip and hip hop is really starting to define this music and this culture. And it's not long after this that the floodgates just completely open up on this thing. And we start getting hip hop artists that are completely dedicated to delivering positive messages to the Black community and attempting to liberate their minds. We got Public Enemy, X-Clan, Poor Righteous Teachers, Boogie Down Productions, Queen Latifah, Lakim Shabazz, A Tribe Called Quest. And again, the list goes on and on. Different artists were coming at it from different angles, but the ultimate overall message was the same, pushing people to take pride in themselves and to raise their consciousness. And it was at this point that hip hop's ability to manipulate the mind of the listener was being fully exploited by the artists. They understood the power of this music and the impact it was having on the people that were listening to it. And they were using this music to try to raise the consciousness of the listeners on a mass scale.
Rap music is tops. Rap music is number one over here. Rap music is ruling. We coolin' and rap music is ruling. The main message to our rap music is have something to believe in and be yourself and let people hear that we're not as stupid and as ignorant as they think we are.
Oh, right here with the young lady, the first lady of rap, MC Light. Right, ain't that right?
Yeah.
What does that symbolize to you, or it's just just you? It's just a.
Well, I went to an African school. Not many people know that. So I like a lot of things that bring out like my African heritage, like I wear jewelry and certain things. So I learned a lot of things that young black people haven't had the chance to learn.
Gotta put our heads together and stop the violence, cause real bad boys move in silence.
Kids follow fads more than they do laws. Kids follow fads more than they do their parents. So here comes BDP with clear and concise messages. We're here to how would I say, knock out the stereotypes. Knock them out completely.
Yo, Chuck, man, tell me a little bit about your academic background, because people can hear by your records and also by the way you speak, incredibly articulate. Obviously got an education.
Well, my mom really stretched education in high school, and then I went to college, and I took a little break off after 2 years of really struggling on the calculus tip, because my brain was like getting fried. And I just, I incorporate maybe what I've learned in school into my lyrics. But, education is definitely the key for me and key for all youngsters out there, and I like to stress that.
But how do you feel about being a B-boy, having that character, that flavor, and that quality of music, and then, still being able to keep the intellectual vibe going?
Well, I'm a Gemini. They say Gemini got two personalities, So obviously, every psyche has two different vectors to it. You have the educational sector, and then you got what you're from. This is where I'm from right here. This is the hardcore situation right here. This is the heartbeat of Chubb Rock right here on Flatbush Avenue and Avenue D. And that's where I get all of my I would say my street knowledge from it. And of course, school bringing the educational section.
Poor Righteous Teachers.
What's up?
What's with the name?
What's with the name?
Break it down.
Well, to be brief and quick, poor is the condition in which we were forced to live in as youth. And once we gain knowledge of knowing our past, our present, and having the ability to influence our future, that made us almost righteous. So once we learned this truth, it was our duty by nature to teach it to the youth that lacked it, for they desired as much as we did. It's like a thirst for the truth of a poor righteous teacher. So now we in it.
Rakim means sun god, from the land of the burnt-faced people. Ra means sun god. Kim is another word for Egypt. And it means the land of the burnt-faced people. Once you deal with the mental, and everything else speaks for itself. Once you tell somebody, how powerful their mind is, and they think about it, then they start to utilize it, Then they realize, man, I can do this. I ain't got to ask, I ain't got to put my hands together and look up. There's nothing glamorous about being a gangster, because it's not really dealing with reality.
Now, anyone who wasn't familiar with X-Clan would immediately look at you and say, all right, what is X-Clan about? Because they're obviously not just another rap group.
Okay. I think the first thing we would make note is that by God's will, He's given us the opportunity to give energy to a people that we see need as much energy as we can possibly get through the form called hip-hop. We call ourselves messengers. We call ourselves those who have no other choice but to understand an oath that we've given each other, and one that we are going to exercise as far as the people is concerned, called freedom or death.
I like to, say it plain and simple that rap is Black America's TV network. And the kids are finding out about all phases of black life through those rap records.
Once again about the problems now that you see. Former Mellow L, Love, and my boy Scooby. My name is Mark Kim, check it out. What's what I'm saying? Crack is in the world, there is no delaying. Please give me a break, all the rhyming people killing, all the stabbing people jabbing, and to know that I'm not willing.
We feel that a lot of younger black people are wrapped up into rap music, and we figure we can reach black people through the music. Music is a universal language. So when Public Enemy comes across with a message in the music, we feel that's the best way to reach black people.
How would you define, Latifah's style?
Real, down to earth. My style is very real and down to earth. It's not materialistic in any form or fashion. They call me Mama Zulu. De La Soul, my sons. Jungle Brothers, my sons. A Tribe Called Quest, my sons. Red Alert Production, my family. Public Enemy, like my family. Boogie Down Productions, my family. Flavor Unit, my posse. You know what I'm saying? And all of these groups are like one unit. We're just one unit, and one unit of people that think along the same lines.
Our whole thing is to make our music grow and to show that we as black people can have something and not lose it like we lost the blues or jazz. Rap is the black American folk story. It's the black American folk tale, male and female. And it's something that we definitely need to be around to control. And right now I see that we're losing control of it.
So for this short span of time, the floodgates have opened up completely. The artists are taking full advantage of the control that they have over the music. And people will gravitate towards this conscious hip hop. By the time Public Enemy dropped their second album, they sold over 1 million copies just in the United States alone. And this music was selling even more overseas. And you could just see the influence of this music, the culture as a whole. The language is shifting. And, whether any of this was the ultimate end or not, it was clearly having a profound effect on the minds of the people that were listening. It wasn't just black people. Everybody was gravitating towards this music. And again, we're getting these deeper messages, and then we're still getting that positive, uplifting, feel good side of hip hop right along with it. And then all of a sudden, here comes NWA.